One of the short films that is screening as part of this year's Melbourne Documentary Film Festival is a film called Dreamweavers-Gidja Walker, OAM. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the director of this film, Heather Forbes-McKeon. Heather, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you for having me. And also, there is another director. It was co-directed by my colleague, Yanni Delaportis. And he'll be busy doing other film work or photography right now, but we work as a team. I'm the producer and the creator of the series of Dreamweavers. So this is one in a series of currently 3, but going to be making some more. So it's very exciting to have this one accepted into the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival. 50 were selected out of 160, so it's a privilege and an honour to have our film included.
It is, certainly it is. So what's the concept behind this series, Dreamweavers?
Dreamweavers is a series that we have been making on the Mornington Peninsula, which is about an hour or so south of Melbourne. Most people would know that if they're from Melbourne. And it's basically a series of short films about local inspirational women who have suffered some form of adversity and faced a lot of challenges and achieve a lot. And they're quite well known in the area for what they're doing. So we've decided to focus on these very, very special women.
Okay. Well, the episode I looked at on Gja Walker is really quite fascinating. How did you come about finding her and getting her to talk on camera about her life?
Thank you. Well, there's a bit of a saying on the Mornington Peninsula that there's only 2 degrees of separation between everybody. And I have been aware of Gidja for probably about 30, not quite 30 years, because my son, my children actually, as a community, we went out and did some tree planting when they were young. And Gidja was one of the people who was doing that and educating us on a particular weed that's on Arthur's Seat, which is behind me. And then my son became friends with her son. And so from then on, I've just sort of kept in touch in some way, just observed what she's done, not personally kept in touch. And then I decided she would be a really good representative of what's going on with the environment and also local cultural heritage. So, yeah, I know she's a very outspoken advocate for both of those in those areas. And so I approached her and she was just very positive. She's such a positive person. And I think she understands that what she's doing is so valuable that she was willing to have us tag along and interfere with her life. Because it is, it's quite an imposition really to have people following you around and in and out of your home, taking up a lot of your time with talking about scheduling and all of that. So she was so accommodating. And we also decided in this particular episode to do something we hadn't done in the 2 previous episodes of these other women that we'd filmed, to invite testimonials by people who've worked alongside Gidja. So that was really helpful and provided a different perspective. So this is our longest one. It goes for 20 minutes and 12 seconds or something. So she was just so accommodating. It was great.
She is, and I found her so interesting as an ecologist, an environmentalist, etc. Did you give her prompts to talk about, or did she just talk about things quite naturally?
Well, we've come up with a formula that's working. So we've got a number of questions that we ask each of the subjects. And then after they've answered them in writing, so I create the script from that and decide on the location, often also by asking them where they need to be in the next couple of months. And so we sort of changed things a little bit with Gidja's film. I think you're learning as you're going with making a documentary, and we decided to start using a drone as well, which we hadn't done previously. because she works in beautiful natural local environments. So, you know, beaches, the ocean, beautiful natural woodlands, and you know, like Greens Bush is a I think it's a state park that was donated originally. Part of that was donated by a family, and yeah, there's just some beautiful locations. So yeah, so we the script was developed really from those questions, and they're pretty much the same questions that we'd asked the previous subjects. And I think we'll be sticking with that formula as we continue on.
Well, it seems to work very well, because I certainly learned a great deal from her, and the environment in the Mornington Peninsula. So that's well done. How easy was it to film her, and how long did it take?
How easy was it to film her? Because Gidja's film was, a lot of it was done outside. So of course you've got the elements, and you've got aeroplanes and trucks and occasionally. So you do have to be quite flexible. We came up against one particular challenge with Gidja. It wasn't really about the environment. Most of the time the weather was perfect. Whenever we had like backup dates, you know, to film her at different times in the same location. Very occasionally we had to cancel because of weather, or people couldn't turn up, or she had suddenly a conflicting schedule. But we came up with something really unusual, and that was that because of who Gidja is, because she's so incredibly courageous, and she has this vast amount of knowledge about ecology and the environment, and also as an advocate for traditional ownership, cultural heritage, she has a lot of authority. So if, for example, Parks Victoria, she's on numerous committees as an advisor. She's very outspoken. We were not allowed to film her at any of these formal meetings. And I tried very hard. And I think that's what I've learned about being a producer. You have to have that personality where you continue to push and push. And I think that's me. So, but on this occasion, it didn't work. So we tried in every which way. And they said, look, we can't have a camera in the meeting. And I said, but we won't have audio. It won't matter. We just want to see heads nodding, people in uniform, listening to Gidja, and, you know, reciprocating, you know, serious discussions. No, they wouldn't have a bar of it. They made us jump through quite a few hoops as well in order to film on location in the national park. And I had read, as a producer, I was familiar with what the regulations were, but we were told we still had to go through this formality of applying to film there. And in the end, the head of someone from Melbourne rang me and said, you didn't need to go through all of that. And I said, I could have told you that, but someone else said we had to do it. So we did do it. So we did get to film her in the parks, which was great, but no formal meeting. So you can see in the film that we do have a formal meeting. So we created that because we needed to see her in that authoritative role, and I felt that was very important. So, and as she says herself, she often finds herself in contentious situations, but she deals with disagreement in such an intelligent, and she has a great rapport with people. So she's able to express her views very respectfully, and I felt it was really important to see her in that type of formal situation that was indoors and with people in suits. So we created that one.
Well done on that. How much success has she had in putting her points of view and getting change, if you like, in terms of conservation in the Mornington Peninsula?
Okay, I'm going to give you a very recent example, which is probably, it's a good example of the type of authority that she has. So, Peter, did you hear about the Harry Potter Forbidden Forest experience that Warner Brothers have on currently at the Briars? It's actually on currently in the school, particularly in the school holiday. So originally that was proposed to be, and it was accepted, that it was going to be happening in the wildlife sanctuary. So I heard about that, and I contacted the organisation Save Bryce Sanctuary, and I said, would you like us to make a film? So we made them a very small film, a social media film, to get the message out about we need people to sign the petition, and this is what they are proposing to do. And here are the reasons why they shouldn't be having it in a wildlife sanctuary, because the animals in there had been rehabilitated in all cases. That's why they were there. And there's an electric fence around the premise, the 90 hectares. But not only that, there's some very vulnerable flora, and Gidja's very familiar with that area, and she does walks and talks for a local group called Living Culture. So she's been working in that space, I think she said 20 years, and she's very familiar with it. And she said there are numerous issues. They can walk in fungus, I think she said, the erosion that could happen with, they're proposing there would be, hundreds of people every night over quite a few months. And it might have been something like 800 people a night, I can't remember. But anyway, so I, after we'd made the film, and I also offered myself as their media liaison person. And so I was the person getting them on air, radio, blah, blah, blah. And I got in touch with News Corp. So News Corp, of course, is the Murdoch, publications. And that became global. So we were talking with them and giving them that information. And that became global. But I got Gidja to talk to the journalists from News Corp. So she was heard overseas. And I think, given who she was, that people took notice on what Gidja had to say. So she was willing to do that. So that was an interview, and then she was quoted in many, many news outlets. So yeah, so we understand why they would listen, because she is a person who really does. She has a lot of authority and a lot of knowledge. One of the people who we interviewed as a testimonial was climate scientist Dr. Greg Holland. And he says of Gidja that she has an encyclopedic brain. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. So she was very, very deserving of her OAM that she received this year. We actually showed the films, Peter, here too. We showed them locally to our community, and it was a sellout success. And then we did it again in February, and again it was a sellout success. So people are interested, in who these women are and what they're doing. It's not just their friends and family who are going, it's people who really do care about what is happening in our local community. And Gidja has contributed for decades to our local community in so many ways. And the Harry Potter Forbidden Forest experience, being in the wildlife sanctuary, was certainly something that she's done that we're all very grateful for, most of us.
Yes, yes. I can imagine there would be a little bit of opposition to some of her ideas, but she certainly offers a terrific message. So look, well done on that. What an interesting story about that Harry Potter event. Yes, because I'd heard a fair bit about it. So yeah, how interesting. And as you've mentioned, her OAM, which was such a great accolade for her in terms of the work that she's been doing.
Absolutely. She's so deserving. And, she's so humble, and she's a really special local individual who is a quiet achiever. But, when she's in the room, she's got a great sense of humour, and she's a very warm person. I actually got all the Dreamweavers together. We ran an event last year where we showed the films, and then I invited Rosie Batty to MC the event, and she interviewed the three women, and we raised funds for Good Shepherd Australia's Women's Refuge, Bayside Women's Refuge. So, and then since then, they all loved getting to know each other. So I've had them all over for afternoon tea together, and that's lovely. So there's something very lovely and grassroots about a documentary about someone in your community. But I think her contribution is more than that. I think it's actually national. I think she's really a national treasure, Peter.
Yes.
There's another story there with you. So there's a network of ecologists, and they walk, through Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And when they can't identify something, they put it up there and say, does anyone know what this is? So apparently someone put something up there about some particular plant and said, we don't understand what this plant is. No one can identify it. And this was somewhere in New South Wales. And it got sent to Gidja. And she straight away knew what it was. And she said, it shouldn't be there. It doesn't belong there. And this is what it is. And I can't tell you what it is, but she knew. And this is why they call her the ecology guru. She's a national treasure.
Yes.
And so I'm hoping to get her film into bigger spaces. So I won't say too much about that, but I think there's potential because I think she's so deserving. And I think in this particular time where we've got so many issues environmentally, and as I've been saying to other people, the pressure is on the Mornington Peninsula. We have a green wedge here, which is protecting our natural environments, and the pressure is on with the housing shortage to encroach upon that. And that, while it would perhaps help with the housing crisis, we would lose the lung of Melbourne is the Mornington Peninsula. People come here to escape, but it's not just that. It is about the preciousness of the environment and the pressure that's actually on it. And she really understands about that.
Well, that is so interesting to hear. And yes, she is quite fascinating. So I was going to ask you about how you're rolling out, and you've sort of suggested it, the Dreamweavers series, including, of course, Gidja's episode.
Yeah.
Because apart from the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival, which is fantastic, how else are you hoping for it to be seen?
Well, I think the potential's always there to get them out there online, of course, as many people do. And there are film festivals for online series. There's we're putting them out there globally, as everyone does through Film Freeway onto that network. I think we're looking at making another few episodes, and then we'll do another screening. But I think the next thing to do is really to talk to the big streaming networks and a distributor so that we can get some backup. It's the funding side of it is very interesting, and you really can't get the funding until you've got a distributor, from what I understand. So we're just doing this on the smell of an oily rag. We're just doing this for the fun of it, for the heck of it, and for our community. So we do it very cheaply. Documentaries are not that expensive to make if you're not looking to earn an income while you're making it, because you're going with the flow. And Yanni fortunately, he does have the equipment, and so that's wonderful. So, but as for rolling out, yes, that's what I'm looking into at the moment, is how to get them out there. But I think that we feel motivated enough just by the community support and the interest that we have at the moment to just keep going. And I think in that way you have to, I remember there's a quote by David Bowie, when you feel that you're just sort of, you're not quite sure if your feet are on the ground and you're sort of floating and you're not really sure where it's going, that's when you're at your most creative. And there's that sort of risk that it could fail. And look, I'm always prepared to fail. And I think it's good to just take that leap of faith, really. And I think just the response has been so overwhelmingly positive and satisfying to us that motivates us to keep going, even though we don't know how we're going to get it out there, so to speak. I have faith that people will be interested.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. How did Gidja respond to seeing the documentary?
Oh, well, yes. I think that she did find it confronting, most definitely. Her first response was, it was so confronting to hear and see myself, because she's such a doer. She's not a person that sits around, you know, she's not an influencer or anything like that. So she's just so down to earth. But she gets it. She understands that she is an important voice, and that is what is important. But she did find it confronting. I think we all can when we see and hear. So, you know, we always bring them round to Yanni's studio and, you know, just show them. I was there when she saw it for the first time, but she thanked us and she felt it was good and that it got her message. And that's what you need to hear as the filmmakers of someone, the subject of a documentary, that you want to make sure they feel that we've got her message. We're allowing her to share her message the way that she feels is appropriate.
Okay.
And she gave us, yeah.
Very good to hear. How many episodes of Dreamweavers will there be?
Look, I'm aiming for 6. So we've done 3. The first one won an award at the local film festival, and that was the My Local Hero Award, which is part of that was at the Peninsula Film Festival, which runs in summer. And that was only 2 minutes. And that was of a friend of mine, Jackie Beddoes, who suffered a stroke and aneurysm at the age of 50, nearly died and had to relearn to walk and talk and function, really. And now she just puts in and she helps other people and runs singing for wellness and art for wellness programs for other people. She's won quite a significant Peninsula award called the Della Sargent Award as well in the last year. So she's a very inspirational person, and we filmed her. That was during lockdowns. So that was when I came up with the idea. So we'd already made a fictional film called The Shell. You can see the bicorn hat up there.
Yep.
That was worn by the Matthew Flinders character in our first film. And so we couldn't make a fictional film during the lockdowns. It was just too hard. You have to organise so many people, as all filmmakers, actors, etc. But I thought, you know, if we made a documentary about one person, each time we come out of lockdown, we can just follow them. And that's what we did. So we just followed Jackie, and she's the busiest person. And, you know, we're all wearing masks. And then the second episode was post that pandemic era, and that's about a 93-year-old friend of mine who's Liz Hicklin, who's an author and poet, raconteur, and she's just launching herself now as a comedian. She's 93.
Wow.
So she's our second subject. We still want to do more with her film. I'm not really wanting to release that film yet. I think there's something we would like to add. Now that she's on the comedy circuit, we need to film her live. We recreated a scene, and we need to go and do that. And she's actually going to be performing at the Wicker Club on the same day that our film's being shown at the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival. So, yeah, she's starting to get noticed. She's been on the ABC radio a couple of times. So that was our second film.
Such interesting subjects. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's the aim. They should all be doing something very different. They are all women who are over 50. I think women over 50 know who they are, know what they want to do with their time on this earth. Don't want to muck around. I have fun as well. But anyway, so yeah, we're just at that point now of we've selected some people, and we're just at the point of starting to approach them.
Well,
and we'll see how we go. It is invasive.
Sure, I understand.
Well,
well, congratulations on Dreamweavers-Gidja Walker. It's such an intriguing short documentary, and I'm sure audiences will appreciate it as part of the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival. And we've been speaking to Heather Forbes-McKeon, who's the producer and co-director of the film. And Heather, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
so much for having me, Peter. Thank you.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.